Okay, so now we have the entire spot laid out in the master composition, and I'm just going to go up here, click this little button, this little hamburger icon next to the master comp, and do this command right here, close other timeline panels, so we can just focus on this one. And we're going to go into frame 1 right here, the first storyboard block. So we'll look on that, open it up, and now here we have the beginnings of the first storyboard frame. Now looking at the spot, this is what it's going to look like when it's done.
Introducing the new Adidas Chroma, the ultimate footwear for your style. Unleash your...
So it's just these little clips of the shoe from the stock video clip, and then Adidas Chroma matching with the voiceover. So we watch it again.
Introducing the new Adidas Chroma, the ultimate footwear for your style.
And the Chroma word it's a text mask with some gradient background animations inside of it. In this storyboard frame, you do some light video editing, so I'll show you how that works in After Effects to just import video and just do a couple of quick cuts, and then we can animate the text based on the voiceover. So first thing we're going to do is come in here. Now we don't really need both of these, really just need this one first, and then we're going to actually rebuild this Chroma text inside After Effects so we can animate the tracking moving in based on the video. And we'll also use some gradient background assets right here as the text mask for Chroma. So first of all, this is a still frame of just the video, so let's import the video for this background first, and to do that we'll do some light editing. So first of all, this is the stock video clip, and this has a bunch of random footage from YouTube that I've cut together, and we're going to use parts of this whole video throughout the commercial. And the first part is right here at the beginning, and you can see we don't want this part with the YouTube playback line at the bottom. It goes away. There we go. So now we've got this section of the footage we're going to cut together and bring into the storyboard frame. Now you can see there's tabs up here too. We're inside the footage tab right now. So if we tried to play this back from the composition, you can see how it switches back to the composition tab. We have the footage tab and the composition tab, and you can see how inside this composition I just turned off that layer so we just see the still frame as a placeholder. So just make sure you can look up here. Sometimes it can get confusing and look like this is the composition window when it's actually the footage window. Now you can do some basic editing in After Effects with video. You can see right here is the little playback bar. I can scrub through this footage by just clicking and dragging. And what we're going to really want is just this part right here. Maybe start like right here. Now if I was going to just click and drag inside here and drag this video onto the composition, you can see how it actually drags the entire 45-second long clip, which is not what we want. We're going to want to take sections of that video out and put it in this composition. So if I go back to this tab, I'm going to want to start the video about right here to set an end point. Now to do that, there's these two buttons right here, these kind of bracket looking buttons. If I click that button, you see how it says set end point to current time. So if I click that, you can see how the light blue, whatever color this is, it now has a blank spot right here, which means I've set the in point at the playhead right here. Now I can just drag this playhead a little bit farther down the timeline, maybe just to like right before that happens. So about right here. So I want that to be the out point of this clip. So I can use this button, set the out point to current time. If I click that, you can see how this part now goes dark. This is the only section of the video we're going to be using, the in and out point right here. So now that I have that selected, I could just push this button right here, overlay edit, which means it'll place this clip at the playhead in the composition that we have selected, which is frame 1. So if I push that button right here, overlay edit, it now places that clip at the playhead. The in point goes to the playhead. So that's what we want. We just want this to be at the bottom though, above the placeholder background. And you can see, because it's a video clip and it has audio on it, there's the visibility button, and there's also the mute button too for audio. So if I turn this off, it's now just going to be the video only with no audio. And if I bring the playhead back and hit play, you can see how now we have video in that composition. And we have the voiceover at the bottom right here. That's the only audio that we really want in this composition. If I hit the number pad 0,
introducing the new Adidas Chroma, the ultimate footwear for your style.
It plays back the video and the audio together. Okay, cool. We've got the first part in, the video. Now we need to come to the Adidas text. So what I'm going to do is show you a really quick and cool way to animate text. It's very easy. I've found that it's really nice to have words come on per syllable. So there's 3 syllables in Adidas, Adidas. So what I want to do is use the mask tool to reveal each syllable as it's said on the voiceover.
Introducing the new Adidas Chroma.
So when it says Adidas right here, I want Adidas to be revealed per syllable. And what we're going to do is, when we have that layer selected, the Adidas text, I'm going to go up here to the rectangle tool. Now if no layer is selected, the rectangle tool becomes a shape tool where we can draw a rectangle onto the composition. But when a layer is selected, this becomes the mask tool automatically. So if I click and drag, you can see how the Adidas disappears. As I click and drag this rectangle, you can see how it actually starts to reveal the layer as a mask. So I want to start with the full mask revealing the full word first. So I'll kind of work backwards really. I found that to be a lot easier to work backwards than to start with the AD first and then the I and everything going forward. So we're going to animate this mask path to be the way that this word gets revealed. Now as you can see, as I've drawn this mask on the layer, this parameter shows up, and we have the mask path, feather, opacity, expansion. Those can come in later as you get more comfortable with After Effects. What we're going to focus on first is the mask path. Now you can see there's a stopwatch next to it, which means I can set keyframes on what this mask looks like, the shape of this mask. So I've set a keyframe. This is going to be the end of the animation really, as the full word is revealed. So I'm going to move this keyframe down the timeline just so we have it. And now that we have the layer selected, you can go back to the cursor tool by hitting V, and now I can drag these points of the mask. And because I've turned the stopwatch on, I've now made a keyframe of that. So if I hit play, you can see how it actually animates the mask between the 2 positions, the mask path. Now I don't want that. This is not what I want, so I'm just going to delete this keyframe. I was just going to show you how this works. What I want to do instead is actually drag this window right here, this line, this vertical line of the edge of the masks, and then it'll drag both points of that mask to be where I want. So I want this first keyframe to be the AD, as in add. And now if I scrub the playhead, you can see how it actually transitions between both of those keyframes. But I'm going to want another one right here. So it goes add E and then DAS. So instead of clicking and dragging this mask to make a keyframe, since I've already got what I want, I can just go right here and click to add a keyframe. So now I've got add E and then it's going to go DAS. But I don't want it to reveal like that, like this. I want it to actually pop on to, I want it to pop from add to E and then to DAS. So I don't want it to be moving like this in between the keyframes. And the way to do that is another really cool trick to know about keyframes in After Effects is it's called the hold keyframe. Now if I drag a box around these keyframes and right click, I have this command right here, toggle hold keyframe. What that means is I'm now turning all these keyframes into hold keyframes, and you can see how the icon has changed for those keyframes. Now what that means is a hold keyframe means it holds that value until the next keyframe happens. So it just pops without any movement in between those keyframes. So it pops from this one to this one and then that one. That's what I want. I want to be able to just have it pop on in the timing that I want. And so the timing is going to be based on what the voiceover says. So if we just hit the 0 key for a preview.
Adidas Chroma.
So Adidas happens actually pretty quickly when he says Adidas.
New Adidas Chroma.
So we want to time these keyframes out to the speed at which he says Adidas.
Adidas Chroma. New Adidas Chroma.
So this animation is really kind of done within a second as he says Adidas.
Adidas Chroma.
Let's see.
Introducing the new Adidas Chroma.
Now, this part we don't need. We don't want the word to be sitting there until he says Adidas. We want the AD to pop on as well. And the way to do that really easily is actually just to drag the endpoint of this layer, the text, to be right here. So it actually isn't visible until add E DAS starts to play. So now if we hit preview to watch this,
introducing the new Adidas Chroma.
It's still a little bit
introducing the new Adidas Chroma.
So where is Adidas actually?
The new Adidas Chroma.
It's about right here. If I use period to do, I can just do the audio preview and not do a RAM preview.
Adidas Chroma. Adidas Chroma.
Okay, so about right here.
Adidas Chroma.
That's about where everything starts. So actually, this needs to go back here, and this needs to pop on right here, the endpoint of that layer.
Using the new Adidas Chroma.
So it's a little bit slow still. I'm just going to drag these keyframes closer together.
Using the new Adidas Chroma.
That's getting better.
Introducing the new Adidas Chroma, the ultimate footwear for your...
And then when he says Chroma, Adidas needs to go away. So
using the new Adidas Chroma.
So Chroma happens about right here. We can hit Alt, right bracket to set the out point of that layer.
Introducing the new Adidas Chroma.
Yeah, about right there. So
introducing the new Adidas Chroma.
Yeah, Adidas Chroma. So this needs to disappear for Chroma to show up. And just for timing, we can turn the Chroma text back on, but then move this endpoint of the layer to be where at the very end of Adidas.
The ultimate footwear. Introducing the new Adidas Chroma. The ultimate...
There we go.
Introducing the new Adidas Chroma. The ultimate...
Okay, cool. That's great. And so now, for Chroma, we're actually going to use the text tool to recreate this text inside After Effects and then animate the tracking of the word so the letters start separated out and they shrink back together. Just another cool trick to know for text animations. So the font that I'm using in this is called Lormor number 2. It's actually an Adobe font, so it should be really easy to activate inside of your Adobe account and use immediately. Just to show you, if you go to fonts.adobe.com, it's this one right here, Lormor number 2. And you can just add it to your Adobe account and it should be available right inside of After Effects. Now the way to do this up here is to go to the text tool and just click on the screen right here, and you can see how it makes a text layer, and then type in Chroma, and then inside the character tab right here, very similar to Illustrator and Photoshop, you can click and drag the font size. You can also do the kerning right here, or the tracking. I like to just use Alt and right or left arrow to get really detailed with the kerning. There we go. So now we have the recreated text inside After Effects. I also did all caps right here. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to make sure that in paragraph that it's set to center align as opposed to left align. It does this around the anchor point, which can be kind of annoying, but now we have it set to center align inside paragraph. We have this text field right here, and I'm just going to put it over the original like that. You know, it's not exact, but it'll get there. It's definitely close enough. So I'm going to turn off this the original Illustrator layer. So now we just have the color and original. So now we just have the new text layer inside After Effects. So if I expand this layer, if you go inside the text parameters, you have path options, more options. It can be kind of confusing. And then the typical anchor point, position, scale, rotation, opacity of every layer. What we're going to want to do is actually go to this little menu right here, animate. If I click that little play icon, you can see there's different parameters we can actually add to this text layer that we can then animate. And the one I want to add is tracking right here. So once I add that, it's set to animator 1, range, tracking type, all that stuff. What we're going to want to do is actually the tracking amount. If I just scrub that value, you can see how it does this. Now because it's center justified, it expands out from the middle, which is what we want. We want to have it start like this and then just shrink into that really quickly. And we can just use the stopwatch icon to set a keyframe. Again, I like to work backwards, so this is where it's going to end up. So I'm just going to move that keyframe down the timeline and then scrub this value to expand it, about like that. That's pretty good. So now we have a little animation where it just comes back together like that. And we're going to go into the trusty graph editor. We have that animation selected and go to the graph editor. You can see our graph. I'm just going to take that last keyframe, move it down to the baseline 0, and then drag that handle out. So now we have a nice ease into that final value. Maybe just a little, maybe just take that handle all the way to the edge so that there's no easing like this. It just kind of starts out and then comes in like that. There we go. It's a little bit too slow, but you get the idea with the easing in the graph editor, because we can turn this graph editor back off, go back to the composition, and just drag this keyframe to be closer. There we go. Maybe this a little bit too fast. There we go. That's nice like that. And then, just for fun, let's do a scale animation too. So I'm just going to hit the letter S on this layer to reveal just the scale parameter. Hit the keyframe. Again, that's going to be where we're going to end. So I'll move that down. And I'm going to hold down Command while I scrub, and it lets you do a lot more precise, smaller increments as you scrub. Just a nice little thing like that. I actually want to use the anchor point tool and put the anchor point right in the middle of this layer. So I'm just going to use the Y shortcut and just grab it and put it right in the middle. There we go. Okay, so now obviously we want to match up the keyframes. So now that I have that layer selected, I'll hit the letter U to reveal all the animated parameters of that layer. And I'll just drag these keyframes closer together so they match up. That's good timing, but now we need to go back to the graph editor for the scale animation and just drag that down as well. There we go. So now that's a nice little, it's kind of imperceptible, but it adds a nice effect of just scaling down while also shrinking with the tracking. And it kind of sucks your eye in to the middle. There we go. So now the last effect is to create a text mask with this text layer using a gradient background, which is super easy. First thing you want to do is go to the gradient backgrounds folder in the project pane and find us a cool background. These are all the background elements. This isn't the final. Let's go into the backgrounds themselves. Here we go. Liquid gradient background. So that's kind of cool. Just kind of go through these and see what looks cool. Maybe. You can also see up here a little quick preview of what that'll look like. And these are always, this is a really good thing. This is why I wanted to include this part of this project, because you're going to want to go to Envato or other stock sites and find pre-made assets to incorporate into your projects. But what's going to happen is these are made by other people that have their own workflows and everything like that. So it's always a good opportunity to get these stock assets as After Effects projects and kind of dig around and see how they build these different parts. Because it's kind of fascinating what they did here. They basically started with a background like this, and they added, and again we can use the tab button right here to go see where this lives inside of. So this is elements 1 right here, but there's also a bunch of different effects being added. If we go into the effect controls, we can see what they did here. They added a turbulent displace, directional blur, twirl, and Gaussian blur. And that's how they ended up making this effect. So it's kind of cool to see what can be done with After Effects. So here we are with the original, and just adding these different effects creates that nice smooth gradient. Anyway, I digress. So I think, let's see. I like this one. This is a nice one. And we can also go, it says right here, change colors. So if we go to the control layer, we go to effect controls, we can change the colors right here as well if we want. I like where these are right now. I think it's fine. Okay, so if we go back to the first frame, I'm going to use this again to close the other timeline panels. So we just have that one to work with. And then I'm just going to drag this composition into the frame 1. So now we've got that gradient background animation as a composition layer inside this one. Hit the S button for scale and scale this down because it's larger than 1080. And there we go. We have it the frame size of the composition. Now the final thing to do is make this layer get cut out by the text layer. And we're going to do that by using a track matte right here. This column right here, how it says no matte, it's got a pick whip. Now I don't want to do this where I pick whip the gradient background, because nothing happens. What I want is the gradient background to be cut out by this text layer. So I'm going to use the pick whip on this layer and then select the Chroma text layer. And now you can see how it's been cut out. And the cool part too is now we have that text animation already being used, and now it just cuts out that gradient background layer. And there we go.
Introducing the new Adidas Chroma, the ultimate footwear for your style. Introducing the new Adidas Chroma, the ultimate footwear for your style. Introducing the new Adidas Chroma, the ultimate footwear for your style.
All done. Now if we hit the tab button to go back out to the master, we can now see how this is looking.
New Adidas Chroma, the ultimate footwear for your style. Unleash your creativity.
So the next one up will be this phone app mock-up. But right now we have the first one completed.